Presentation. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to hand you over now to our MC for today, Renko Berg, to take us further in the program. Thank you very much, Renko. Let's give him a hand.
Good morning, everybody. Harry had to say two things, and I was on the first flight: transport and digitization. But I guess by looking at most of you, that is why all of us are here. So very excited to have this session with you today. It is a topic that is obviously top of mind for most of us in boardrooms and wherever we go when we look at digitization and transport at the moment. But before we go further, and before I just break down or try and set the table for us slightly today, just an appreciation to the Transport Forum in your birthday month. It also, Harry, I think it's appreciation to you yourself and all the years that you've put into this. There's few, if not only your forum, where I think a hybrid online and in-site presentation really does work. Ironically, we had some hiccups this morning, but that's, out of all the years you've been doing that, your track record is immense, so thank you. Some of you won't know, but Harry actually was acknowledged last year out of another very astute body in the industry, the Logistics Achievers Award. Harry received the contribution to logistics for industry, which is one of the highest awards that they can honor individuals, which is the Di Holton Award. And you were acknowledged last year, and on your birthday, and that, I just wanted to say thank you from the industry. Well done for everything you've done and contributed. Thank you very much. We have an exceptional lineup today. We're going to unpack the topic, and Harry said to me, you know what, this is one of the, because I listened to the audience, spoken. They said to me they want to hear about digitization, and here we are. And the panel we've assembled really, I think, is going to give us a deep dive, nice, rounded impact on how the digitization of transport space is evolving. First of all, just wanted to also thank the hosts for having us here, the university, grooming so many of our future logisticians, all the students that have made the effort to be in person, thank you very much for being here. And like always, those online, I'm always very conscious of the very big audience that make the effort. And then just for the panelists that make the effort to be here today, thank you. So the roundup, what we are going to do is we're going to unpack and discuss some topics about deep diving into AI, hardware units that speak to IoT, risk management, how data is impacting the classroom effect for students navigating this topic becomes practical, which is something that I'm very excited to listen to. So we're going to have just in some around 11 o'clock, lovely coffee at the continue of our last two presentations, and by 12 o'clock and lucky draw, and then some nice lunch to be served. So without any further ado, I would love to welcome Magetu, that is represented here at the university, and fostering all these hungry students, and I can see the look of their fed well. Thank you very much, and if you don't mind, just to give us that welcoming note.
Yeah, good morning. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very well, very well. Welcome, each and every one of you, to the University of Johannesburg. The University of Johannesburg is 21 years old this year, so we're supposed to be given. This is a for us as a university. Last year we celebrating years all the way until we get to 30 years and celebrate in a big. So, but all in all, welcome to the University of Johannesburg and welcome to the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management. In our department, we train students and also working class people, all the way from bridging to the diploma, and all the way, and they can articulate up to the P. So it is a very comprehensive department, and we're very happy to have you here this morning. So Harry gave me an easy job of opening this today, and also speak briefly innovation in transport and logistics. We all know that the industry, every data, and this data, and make meaning out of it. But then let's try to understand what is the state minibus taxis. We're seeing rail passenger transport improving. Hopefully, it will be on course to get to move 600 million passengers by 2029. But what are the challenges that we industry? Areas they can't have access to this. We're seeing fragmented transport system whereby we don't have a unified ticketing system. You have to split your journey into fragments for you to get to where you're going. If you're coming from Soweto, you're going to Stanton. If you're lucky to get one mode of transport to take you there, you'll be very lucky, but in many cases you'll have to plan to split the journey. Then we commuting distances. On average, we're seeing people commuting about 107 minutes in Johannesburg, and that is really a huge amount of time that is spent on transport. We also think about the low-income communities, and these people have to access jobs, but then transport becomes a barrier. So we're seeing some form of exclusion. We've seen safety concerns across the country, not only in passenger transport, but also in the freight sector. We're also seeing rail inefficiency in the sector, and we expect that this is going to improve with party access. Then the port congestion and delays are also impacting the way business is done. Have lack of real-time visibility of your cargoes or of the trucks or shipments, and this is what the technologies companies that we have to do to make sure that your freight or your cargo can be visible all through the journey. We're seeing more and more risk, especially on cargo theft, and maybe technology can come and help us here. We're seeing poor intermodal integration. What kind of integration do we have between the water transport and road transport and rail transport? When this kind of intermodal integration is not proper, what you see is huge congestion in the port cities. And that is sometimes what you see at the port of Durban. Then we're seeing more and more border crossing delays, some of which are very costly. And the big question is, how can technology then come in and assist us to reduce these border crossing delays? So then we ask ourselves, from a transport perspective, how does transport sustainability and also the society? So studies have shown that about 15 to transport, and that is really huge. It could be you fueling your car, you paying transport. This gets to about 30 to 50%, and you can see how it becomes an excluding factor for people to access economic activities. So if somebody has to travel to go and work, they'll have to ask themselves whether the wages they are going to, and then what will be remaining for them to spend in other. Then we have jobs and services, and this is due to the high cost of transport. We've seen that with this kind of increase in cost, it creates more and more spatial inequalities, whereby there are people who are in the peripheral areas of the city who cannot access some economic activity transport. So we've also seen from a sustainability perspective that transport contributes close to 10% of emissions, and especially from road transport being the one culprit. Cities, and this creates fuel, you end up moving, and also pollution. Then what's the way forward? We think and efficient systems is where we're adding. Now, why do we think that technology matters? Why should we think about technology anyway? One of the things is that technology will help improve efficiency and reliability. And many of the technology companies that are part of the Transport Forum will have such kind of solutions. Technology will also help reduce the operational costs. And it will also make sure or help you to make data-driven decision-making, whereby you don't have to think so much, because data kind of decision you are going to make. So then we say that if we implement technology, if we adopt the right technologies, hope. And one of the ways, the technologies that we can think of, is technologies like AI and predictive analytics can be able to assist you with predictive maintenance and the dynamic to wait for the bus to break down for you to repair it. You don't have to wait for the locomotive to break down for you to repair it. Don't even imagine of an aeroplane breaking down so that you repair it. So, because there will be no aeroplane to repair. So, very, very important. So we also have these technologies helping you with dynamic routing, whereby have these technologies installed in their vehicles, they can be able to change instantaneously whenever there is maybe a protest ahead, maybe there is flooding, maybe there are weather conditions. They will be able to know. Instead of them driving whereby a bridge has already been washed away, this kind of them that there is severe weather ahead, maybe stop or use a different route. We also have IoT and that's Internet of Things and telematics, which provide real-time cargo and fleet tracking. We have blockchain, which actually, if well implemented, especially blockchain contracts, can be able to cut down the waiting times at the border points by 30 to 50%. We also have the digital twins. We look forward to a situation where we have integrated fare systems, that's some form of single ticketing, or real-time passenger information, and also demand-responsive transport, whereby we use that. We don't want a situation where maybe a taxi driver is just stopping this side of the road, while on the other side, to be transported. But he doesn't know it's that kind of visibility and a demand-responsive transport solutions. So, mobility, which brings out the integration of all the modes of transport. If we think of passenger transport, it's possible to integrate all these passenger transport systems and have one ticket, so that the journeys that we do every day are more of the commuter-centric to be what the operators provide. We also think about mobility as a. This is where we can be able to have applications which will help us plan our journeys properly. And we're looking forward to even have electric trucks, solar electric trucks doing the last mile deliveries in our communities. So the way forward, some of the vital steps we're looking forward into is issues to do with public-private partnerships, whereby, especially in the rail sector, we're seeing open access, whereby more players in the rail can enter into the rail sector and provide services. We're also seeing a situation where we as trainers, we are expected to provide more digital skills development by making sure that our students who graduate have some digital skills. And we've done this in our department. We have reviewed much of our curriculum to make sure that we include these digital skills. We're also looking at having green corridors in the future, whereby we can say maybe the N3 is going to be a green corridor, and we can have electric vehicle charging systems around along that particular route. We can have more of the electric trucks on that route, more of rail on that particular route. So the future to us is a connected network, whereby rail is the backbone, and also road becomes the flexible connector of this particular network, and we're looking at data as the fuel that keeps this particular sector moving. And if we achieve that, then we can talk of a smart, inclusive, sustainable transport system. Thank you very much, and welcome to the Transport Forum discussions.
Thank you, Professor. I think you got us all very excited about green corridors. And I think there's many of the students in this room that are hopefully going to start contributing to that and get us to that milestone. So our next presentation is going to be a dual presentation. Also, Deputy Head from the Department of the University, Dr. Taba, is going to co-pilot with Ilya from RISE SA. And the topic is going to getting practical, getting into the control room, and how does that look like for young professionals starting their journey, especially when it is, in the starting phases of software. So, without any further ado, I think, Doctor, you're going to start. Excited to have you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I hope you are all well, and I want this opportunity to thank the Transport Forum and our department for giving us the opportunity to actually present the project we are building, which is still challenges. One thing about innovation, you don't talk about it and wait. You talk about it as much as we are in our early stages, but we have already, and we are looking forward to the results. So we embarked into this journey November last year. After attending, we had an opportunity to attend an international event where we were invited to come and see the competitions that they are doing them. They call the competition high-tech competitions, where they actually come up with different, they invite different and compete on a certain problem that they brought to the industry. The industries are their customers. And I've realized, no, this looked like something we can actually do in the classroom. I visited them in November, and then mid-November, I spoke to Prof. Maget. I said, Prof, management into entire digitalized curriculum. And as always, he gave me where we are now. That we all know is that the transport education must evolve, especially today with generative AI and many other technologies that are taking place in the industry. At University of Johannesburg, we do not want to keep on hearing the word industry mismatch. We want to move with the industry. So the Transport and Logistics Organization are becoming increasingly very aware that there is a need for fleet telematics, ERP platforms, data-driven operation, and integrated supply chain system. So, however, many graduates from different universities with limited exposure to real operation who can operate digital fleet day one. It's true, right? When they leave as graduates, when they arrive in your organizations or your companies, you expect them to already understand ERP system. So at University of Johannesburg, we are bridging the skill gap by digitalizing the fleet management module. We redesigned the fleet management to include enterprise resource planning system, management tools, operational transport. So students now learn how fleets operate in real transport environment. And my student, she can raise her hand and say, you can actually see her in the audience. We are using what is called consulting-based learning. So there are some cases because we are running this parallel. We are running a blockchain project where our purchasing or procurement students are doing, and then we are also system thinking and decision making. So, hands-on fleet management training. So, through collaboration with technology providers, students gain exposure to transport planning system, vehicle monitoring platforms, operational analytics dashboard, integration between fleet ERP they are analyzing in the classroom is real data. Given a case of a specific state-owned enterprise from the beginning, when we talk in terms of the fleet management. How digital tools support real fleet operation and aligns with the digital fleet management environment. 3 slides that you're going to see. The future of transport. So education, technology, and industry, they go together. It depends on the collaboration between the three. Where university is providing these skills, and fleet system is provided by the industry, and the industry is also giving us to work on. So together we build the next generation of work-ready transport professionals of South Africa. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Gentlemen. My name is Ilya Shikhov, and I am of Rise SA Business Solution. Today, I will tell you help convert students to work. But before I start, I need to briefly explain you the ecosystem behind it. Once enterprise platform designed for the platform developed by, and it is a vendor of it's been developing business applications since 1993, and Rise model. The platform is recognized and as international rankings by Gartner, and it supports us in our global penetration. So the next question is how we bring this into the education. In 2024, one C company started collaboration with BRICS, Business Council. The focus is strategic development of digital skills and new technologies. So together with University of Johannesburg, we signed an agreement to prepare students for future reality. Our goal is simple: bring real business system into the classroom. So now let's move on from education to the actual industry challenges. From any industry-specific, the expectation is very clear. Companies don't want to have graduates. They want people who can start working immediately. But modern fleet management has changed dramatically. Today we include telematics, sensors, route optimization, real-time data, and now AI. It requires completely different skills from students. And this is exactly how we're going to fill this gap. Trying to solve this gap, we built this collaboration. And our local industry partners, Stratmar Integrated Solutions, have a vast of experience in that case. So they help us to explain and talk in real cases with our students through our technologies. So how we actually close this skills gap? Yes, we take real data sets and put it into the technology, into the systems. And our students learn how to do this work in real time. I mean, the transport planning, vehicle monitoring, etc. And most importantly, we train them to not only to solve this problem into the system, but understand business needs. Because they must also not only to know fleet management, but they also must learn business language to speak with business owners and collaborate with others into the environment. So modern fleet management is a connected environment. Drivers use mobile applications. Vehicles generate a lot of data through sensors, through other information technologies. And through these exercises and assignments, real assignments, they try to understand business challenges and do and present our system, our technologies to business owners. It's very important for them to learn how to do presentations because it brings a lot of understanding between parties, included in education process. So, oops, sorry. So, we invite these examples of re-implementation sorry, pardon. So if we go back to where we started, the goal is not just to teach students, the goal is to prepare professionals who can operate in real environments, and this only works when three elements come together: education, technology, and industry. University provides us knowledge, technology provides tools, and industry provides real content. And together, they create work-ready professionals. And this is exactly what we are building here in South Africa. We're actively looking to expand this model. We welcome to collaborate with universities, companies, and public institutions. And we are inviting you to be a judge in May when students will present their projects to us. So if you have any questions, please ask. I hope we will develop new students to be work-ready professionals. Thank you very much.
Doctor, thank you. Small gift for you. You absolutely had us, Doctor, when you said innovation. You don't talk about it and not do it, right? Because we know what happens. And I love that work-ready combination of those three circles that come together: education, technology, industry. It is immensely important. So for all the students here, I can see there's a lot of smiles and grins in terms of what this means for you. So thanks for all the hard work, Ilya, and the effort and the collaboration. Lovely. Are there any questions for any of the two speakers? I did check online. There was none there. Anybody from the panel or from the audience? Okay. So let's head on. Harry, if you can help me out with the stack, then I'll just introduce our next speaker. Christian, I didn't see you in the audience. Where are you? There you are. Great. So our next speaker has got deep roots in this topic. He represents C-Track, and he's the head of the software and data globally. And he'll be talking about risk management and value creation. Very excited to have you here, Christian.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Christian Storm. I'm head of software and data for C-Track, and today I will be talking about risk management and value creation. So risk management. I've worked in a few industries, and this is one of those concepts where you always plan for, but don't really see or get to apply or get to mitigate really often. And I feel in the transportation industry, this is the most exposed industries, as they are dealing with risk on a daily basis. Because I think mainly because they are dealing with assets like trucks and cars and people. And if you combine these together, then risk is just everywhere you look. So from an asset point of view, you can have road accidents or you can have maintenance failures. From a person or people point of view, you can have cargo theft, vehicle misuse, and driver fatigue. These are the risks operators need to face daily. Then these risks translate directly into higher insurance costs if you are more prone to have accidents, downtime if there is an accident, operational disruption, and reputational damage. Today's risk management, a company relies on incident reports, driver training after the accident happens, insurance claims analysis, and manual fleet inspections. But these have a common problem, and I wonder if the students can tell me what this problem is. No? They are all reactive. So it's after the case that the accident already happened, and then they try to resolve the problem. At C-Track, we want to move more to data-driven risk management and be predictive. So fleet companies today generate a lot of data on the driver monitoring side, the vehicle telemetry, the GPS of the tracking unit, the engine diagnostics that we can get from the CAN data, and the route and geolocation data. So if we combine all of this data, it gives us a strong base to move from reactive to predictive. So before, risk, event-based risk was on isolated incidents. It was reactive decisions based on past events, and it didn't look at the driver behavior in the context of the accident. What we want to move into the future is AI driver risk profiling, where we take all your data points and combine it and give you a DNA, a driver DNA score, where we then can measure you and see your habits and rhythm while you're driving. And this will anticipate future risk and forward-looking decision-making. So what our telemetry actually measures is driver behavior, vehicle condition, and the operational context. So these are things like harsh braking on the driver, speed violations on the vehicle, we have battery health, and then the operational context, we have the time of day, the routes they take, and the driving hours. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot more things underneath the surface. 90% of the risk lives below this peak of the iceberg. And it leaves out like consistency, habits, rhythm, erratic behavior. So what we do try and do at C-Track is to combine all of these to create a true driver DNA. Having this driver DNA, we then can link behavior to risk signals. For instance, harsh braking can be an aggressive driving signal. Overspeeding can be linked to increased accident probability. Night driving, fatigue risk. Long driving hours, another fatigue risk. So then we can give our drivers a risk score, and from low risk to medium to high risk. So this allows us to focus then on the high risk candidates, as we know they are more prone to cause an accident. So what we've done at C-Track, we've taken 15 years of telemetry data and combined them with insurance claims data. And then we've mapped out with machine learning how these telemetry data can lead or can predict the driver score, and that will lead then to a higher or lead to an accident or a high probability of causing an accident. So we've identified drivers with frequent harsh braking, consistent speeding, and driving long hours are more likely to be involved in accidents. And then so using machine learning, we give it we identify the high risk, and this allows us to be preventative and to apply preventative models, to risk-based models to manage these drivers. So if we are proactive, then organizations can react before an accident happens by, so if we have identified a high-risk driver, we can try driver coaching with targeted training. We can do some operational changes, change our driving hours. We can look at the vehicle itself, be proactive in servicing, and policy enforcement, speed management, or driver safety incentives that we can help to make these drivers less risky. So when we reduce the risk of accidents, there's obviously some value creation that we get: insurance savings, lower accident costs, higher vehicle uptime, improved driver safety, and operational efficiency. So if you just look at this graph here, you can see 5% of the worst drivers cause 20% of all major claims, and 15% of the worst drivers make 40% of all major claims. So if we just focus on these high-risk drivers, the 40%, we can save up to 40% of our major claims. And then looking on the other side, the 20% best drivers only have 1% of the insurance claims. So there's a clear segregation of these drivers. Focusing on the right ones will save you money. So in a real-life example, we've seen 20 to 40% reduction in harsh driving events, 15 to 30% in accident reduction, and 5 to 10% fuel saving, because obviously if you drive better, you'll have better fuel saving, and it gives improved driver accountability. So for large fleets, this can save a company millions of rands in annual savings. So what we're seeing in the future, we want to go with this, we want to develop more AI models that can even identify fatigue risks. We have cameras in some of the trucks now, and that can already identify it. We just need to map it with accidents so that we can get a more predictability of how fatigue risk looks like in a cab. Then detect unsafe routes. We have the positioning on certain routes, so we can If there's higher accidents on certain areas, we can then flag those and optimize driving behavior. And this all then feeds into our real-time analytics that we want to do, so to give drivers, as they're driving, updates about their driving, about their area, about any risks that they might face, and helping them to reduce their risk as being a high-risk driver. Okay, what this means for the industry, like Dr. Tauba mentioned, is we need to be more data-driven, and organizations are becoming more data-driven. I see it not even in the transportation industry, but across the globe, in all sectors. Data is core now, and it is, at the moment, I feel it's a lot of the data is fragmented, and it's now a big it's a big drive now to get it combined and to get it in one place so that we can understand it. But to use this data effectively, you need to start using this data effectively, combining these different data sources, then integrating this data, even with your telematics. There's a lot of data that you might have in an organization that lives separately. For instance, your asset utilization or your service history. That can be combined with the telematics data to give better predictive analytics on systems. And then invest in analytic capabilities. It is key going forward, and training staff to interpret data. The competitive advantage will go to companies that manage the risk intelligently. So the future for the transport professionals, we need to have data literacy. So when you see a car, one car is doing 10 stops, another car is doing 3 stops, understanding what the variables might be for, what data variables there might be for one car to be different to another one. The technology understanding, understand what variables can you get from the devices. There's GPS, there is fatigue, there is speeding, understanding what variables you have to build better models. Then the operational thinking, what time of day are we driving, on which routes are we driving, is it a high-risk area, and then combining all of that to become better risk managers, and combining it and building predictive AI tools or analytic tools to help your organization. Transport is no longer just about moving vehicles is about understanding and being data-driven analytics to monitor these vehicles and using data-driven. So before, we used to just wanted to know where a car is, where an asset is moving. But today, tracking allows us to understand driver behavior, create measurable business value, manage operational risk, and predict accidents. So in the future, the safest fleets will be the ones that uses data intellectually. I saw this quote saying that every accident that is prevented is not just a life saved, but it's value created. And I would like to leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Just before we get to questions, wanted to just iterate the fact that it's noticeable that in the entire supply chain, the one critical point of risk lives in the transport space, which is in the cab with the driver. And well done for all the work you do to get predictive in that space. So yeah, very, very excited to see how that grows and continues. All right, we are smack back on time. So I'm going to bring us to the lunch, or sorry, not the lunch yet, the comfort break. And I'm going to present, just want to get my visuals. I'm going to also put my head on the block like Harry did this morning of these glitches. I'm going to do a bit of a live demo. Let's see how that goes. Right. Okay. So thank you. represent Control Fleet. We are a technology business focusing on building tech for the transport space. You know what? I forgot. Sorry. Questions for Christian. Can we hold that then after? Then we can do mine combined with Christian. Apologies. I know you had a question. For those online, apologies, Christian. We do questions together. You can come back after mine. All right. Apologies. So we build technology for the transport and logistics space. And my topic that speaks to real-time visibility is one of the attributes that we on a daily basis deal with and focus with. Those of you that have work in, know of, or even just affiliate with transport entities would know it is an exceptionally manual task to continuously update all your clients. And you have to juggle between a driver giving updates, vehicle positioning, not even necessarily your own vehicles, potentially a subcontractor vehicle, demanding clients that want to know different specifics. Not just ETA, but is your driver actually busy offloading? Is the documents actually being signed? And it is such a conundrum to balance. And I think in terms of real-time visibility, that is how as practical and as how real it can get. How do you navigate in that space? How can you create that? And if you do get that right with technology, the benefits that will multiply when you do. So I want to make it a bit practical. And I'm going to just give you a bit of a background in terms of some statistics on real-time visibility and technology, and then I'm going to get to a live example. So there's obviously a lot of different areas that are digitizing quite rapidly in our space, and specifically South Africa. You can note, and some of you have obviously been directly involved or have experienced it. We know that the cross-border initiatives and digitizing to online single border control platform is critical. We know the benefits that that can give. We all are in a daily practical examples living out AI and how the agents are already impacting. But when it comes to real-time tracking visibility, that is actually still in quite a growing stage. We are now really seeing that hardware units, the typical devices out there in the world, and software are dancing together very nicely. And that is where we get that real-time visibility to exceptionally and exponentially start to create value. Before you get there, however, I need to take us back to the realm of the software application core base that you have to put in place. You have to have a base of collecting data so that you can get to a point where the need of making that visual and what to make visual is even real. So there's many areas that you need to have some technology in place before you can get to how you can share that with external parties. So, for example, within the space of planning and transport, you have your transport management systems, your demand planning applications, your warehouse applications. I know in many South African examples, you already get examples of dark warehouses where there's very or little human interference because you've got robots running around. But you need to have that as your core, at least software, where you are not manually moving data around so that you can get to the next step. How does that start to look like? From traditional work, manual documentation, limited availability of data to make decisions. Those things are all currently able and moving across as this fourth industrial revolution is coming in. We are now going into a digital documentation world. We are integrating those software applications that I spoke of into each other, making it fluent, giving a client and yourself, all the third-party members in your eco-environment, giving them one sense of truth, one point of digital truth, which now becomes shareable. And that is where the real-time visibility starts to make its impact. So what about it? We all see it's always ranking up in the stats, real-time visibility, but what does it speak to? What happens if it's not there? There's a lot of statistics that go around, but I think some of the more imminent ones are the fact that if you look at risk and if you look at cost and if you look at service levels, that is where you are getting the most direct result if either there is or a lack of real-time visibility. If you just take a practical example, two fleets, two operational transport entities right next to each other, no differentiation in terms of where they're based, same type of industry. One is manually giving their clients updates, calling. sheets, written updates, and another can instantly give a client real-time updates by just leveraging the technology that lives in their transport space. What does that mean? Well, in many cases, non-digital have way more effort to do, most likely a lot of resources that need to be allocated to that, so hence there's a cost factor. It is hard to do that, it's inefficient, so there's a delay in most of those times, so there's a service element, and it's risky. We are duplicating data, capturing and recapturing data consistently. But if we can get it in real time, we utilize and sweat technology, those three aspects can be directly addressed, but also be managed and measured, which is most importantly. So how do you get there? You need to start. Some of the transport operators are on different stages. I always say there's no right or wrong stage. It's your stage, wherever you are as a transport operator navigating through digitization. Some members already have got applications migrating to others. Many don't have any applications and are adopting for the first time. Wherever that is, the first phase does remain and does currently receive most of the tech budget in most transport companies, and that's get the core systems in play. Get the applications that are avoiding duplication and manual capturing. Then start looking at how those integrations and efficiencies can be created, and ultimately you get to the buzzwords, the automation, the artificial intelligence, the digital twins and scenario planning and getting to more predictive, like Christian mentioned. So phase one, pick a partner, a software vendor, if not building yourself, that you trust, that you have a similar ethos to where you want to go to, implement. I had a road country trip last week where we visited different regions from Bloemfontein and Newcastle and Harry Smith, and I was encouraged by how hungry the transport sector is for digitization. But I can sense in so many boardrooms the fear of taking that next step, how to do it, what to do. And my advice on that is, there are many players in the market. Get in touch and start. The starting point is the hardest. Acknowledging the fact that you want to digitize, you've already done. But then picking a party that builds technology that you are comfortable with, start the journey and just implement. Even if it's a phased approach, 5 trucks at a time if you can, however your journey looks like, just start. After you've implemented the core applications, and you've sorted in many cases some of your infrastructure problems, you might need to figure out, do I have Wi-Fi sufficiently in all my coverages and off-sites? Do I need to have different hardware for my staff, in terms of laptops? You might still in today's age wonder, yes, that is something that still needs to be considered. Then you get to phase 2. And that's where my topic is, where it comes to real-time visibility. Once you get the core applications implemented and you can start leveraging that data, it is not a far cry to start getting to real-time visibility rather quickly and instantly. Just make sure that you're diligent with what data you're entering. And then lastly, you can get to the phase where you start to get predictive. You have come acquainted with the applications you've implemented. In many cases, you might have had to replace some applications. Nowadays, we are not getting bogged down with contracts for suppliers to pick certain software. It's easy to move. You pay for what you value what you pay, and if you don't, you can make that decision. But you settle for a period on what applications are giving you the best value. And once you do, you integrate. There are many applications that, in today's age, applications that are not willing or keen to integrate are far gone. Integration is easier, it's cost effective, and it can be done either by yourself or any of those suppliers that you're most likely dealing with. Once that layer is sorted, then we can get advanced. Then we can start leveraging the data. This phase might, for some of the transport operators listening to this, be way far from where they want to be. For others, it's what they're currently dabbling with. That's why I say, wherever you are on your journey, it's not right or wrong, just keep pushing the boundary to digitize. Live demo. So what I wanted to show you is just a real raw example of how this live real-time visibility can come and create value. So what I've done, leading to this demo, is I have actually dovetailed with one of our speakers that will still come, which is a provider of hardware devices, IoT. So Norman, I know you couldn't be in person, but online, I've got one of your devices here in my hand. And this device has got a GPS tracking which we have integrated with. So we are live tracking this device as a location. And but that could also represent your vehicle. That could represent a C-track unit which lives in your vehicle or any other tracking device. The important part is, can we gain access to where that vehicle is consistently? And then if you're on your application, when you're planning and scheduling your orders, you can then start to build that job, right? So we call that waypoint-based orders. So I made an order for this morning where, starting at our office in Pretoria, Julian, my colleague, picked me up at the airport, and then we were heading to the Auckland Park venue where we are today, or right now. And that progress, that journey, this is what an operator sees. They see literally a vehicle scheduled to an order, what the progress is, where the vehicle is now, but how do I share that? My client needs to know this. So what do? You can create a customer portal. And this is an example of every one of your transport clients receiving their own portal where they only see the orders that you're doing for them at that stage. And what the client can see is, in this example, how many hours have I now been at this location? What will be my ETA to the next? As soon as this vehicle starts moving, we will show the actual kilometers to the next point. What did we do? We leveraged operational application that it lives at the transporter, the tracking that transporter is using, or in my example, just the handheld device that has got tracking. We married the two, and then we started showing and leveraging the data. And for this example, a transporter giving real-time visibility to his client. If you then allow, the client could even have, for example, access to physically see where the vehicle is with permissions. That is if you are creating an environment where you make it easy for a client to come and see. But we know, as transport operators, the sooner we do that, clients get accustomed to that. Then they want to take it to one step further. Can you prompt me? I know I've got a portal, so I'm not calling you that much anymore. Thank you for not sending your Excel sheets to me 3 times a day. But can you rather prompt me when I need to go and look? Then you can take it a step further and start creating what we call alerts-based watches. So I've just created a watcher this morning, and I said, you know what, I want a watcher to trigger when the vehicle left the office in Pretoria. Then I wanted another watcher to trigger when we left the OR Tambo airport, and I wanted one to trigger when we arrived here. How did that trigger? What happened? I said I wanted to send it to the transport's most favorite communication platform, WhatsApp. And those are examples of triggers that, you can see that those are examples of the 3 triggers at those time stamps that I wanted the client to get a direct message of what happened. This client received a WhatsApp at 7 o'clock this morning to say, truck left Pretoria office. He got one at 20 past 3 when he picked me up at the airport. And when we arrived here, just before 9, Harry called me asking where I was. And if he had this portal, he would have been updated. So, real practical example. Now, just to close off, bring in the driver. So if you are giving your driver that technology, like Christian also mentioned, and those are devices where drivers can actually sign on glass, they can interact, they can capture data, then this also can contribute to the real-time visibility. So in my hand, I've got this app. This is the app the driver will use and see, and they can actually complete tasks. So I had an example of a odometer reading had to be entered, and I created a little form. And the first form was take a photo of a POD. So I'm just going to take one of us all together here, or of you, if you don't mind. And then another photo of the truck. This one I'm going to just do a little selfie with you. And then there was a photo for a question for getting a signature. This the driver's doing in the cab at any of the points of interest. Can you see immediately as I've done that, there's a green tick? which indicates that the driver is busy capturing data. That driver is currently either completing a task that I wanted him to do, and as that driver completes that form and that task, that data is immediately available for the operator to consume. But not only is it available for the operator, the transport manager to consume, it is available to share to the client in real time. And that value proposition is exactly what the transport operator is struggling to do today. How can I digitize documents? How can I digitize updates? How can I really continuously give my clients update, make them involved with my process? And if I do that, what will be the outcome? Good service. Most likely, hopefully, reduce resources required to do that, and cost if that is associated with the resources. And then ultimately, so I've got a bit of a connection. Ultimately, what you then can allow is that even if your driver contributes, they can make the schedule update. So I've got a button to say complete stop, and what will happen now? You see the schedule has moved on. The driver has now been empowered to say that I've done my task, it has been completed. It's not depending on an operator to do anything. The driver is critical because he's the first one to arrive, the last one to leave at your clients, and he was now contributing and giving you documentation. Client can come into the order, see that, finish that Auckland, heading to the ORT, what will be the ETA, and if the documents like I just completed is available, they can access that immediately from here. So that's just a live example. I wanted to try and make it a bit more practical on what does it mean when we say real-time visibility? What does it mean for transport operators that are grappling with that? Because transporters are currently continuously inundated with pressure by giving more data, share more, be more integrated. But what does that mean? This is just one example of how that can play out for a transport operator. And then in closing, if you want it, we have a real-life case study which explains exactly what visualization did for them. You're welcome to scan the QR code. It will take you to an example of a client that's willing to share some of the statistics that they experienced due to making use of real-time visibility. Again, this is not something far-fetched. It's in your grasp. There are many transport software vendors out there that can provide this and even more. But if you're a transport operator, it's time to just take that next step and start the journey. Thank you very much. So that does bring us to, so we did catch up with time quite nicely. So we are 6 minutes ahead to enjoy some coffee. So yeah, we will be back. Thanks, Harry. Appreciate it. We will be back here to start with the last two presentations of the day at 11:15. So here's the questions. Christian, I'm pretty sure there will be some for you too. I don't have the online. Yes, ma'am. There's a very fancy gadget with a camera heading your way. This is my highlight of every Transport Forum event.
1, 2, 1, 2.
If you don't mind just identifying yourself and then your question. Harry, on the far side.
Thank you so much. My name is Lindy Wedlamini. I am in employee health and wellness, in particular driver behavior and wellness. I loved your presentation. I have a comment for you. In addition to the data-driven risk management, I'm saying, coming from my sector, which is clinical social work and human development, we need to add human-centric model and systems approach. Why I'm saying human-centric, it needs to be inclusive and ethics that you are dealing with human beings. systems, we're dealing with people, we're dealing with systems, the real world, and the design has to solve the right problem, and then the issues of risk. Drivers are a backbone of this business. Therefore, their voice and they need to be included. When we interface with them, sometimes they don't understand this technology. They need to be included so that they see it as a business model or as a tool that will make the business efficient. That is the comment. For the last speaker, how do we avoid, because I'm also part of the digital process, over-digitalizing and actually making drivers along the way to have so much in their hands. And I've interfaced with a lot of them. Some, they don't have the skills to manage these tools. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to comment, Chris?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's very important to take the human aspect into consideration, implementing these new products. We have seen some positive signs where we actually introduce reward systems or highlight the facts that some of these things can help them. In case there's an accident, then we have some data that showed but they were driving correctly or they were low-risk drivers. So it actually helps them to defend their cases against these things. But we are seeing the move going towards mobile and being online. If you take 10 years ago, nobody was using internet to do payments, but Facebook, I feel, really changed that, and everybody got online, and everybody started using payments. And I think it's a transition, but we definitely need to cater for all individuals in South Africa to make sure this journey is well accepted and pulled through. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, thank you for that comment. I think two things I take away. Did I hear correctly saying over-digitizing? I experience that on a very frequent basis, and I've termed it leapfrogging. And I think many transport operators, due to the reluctance, due to many factors that are not negative, the intention is there, they over-engineer the thought of what they need to get right to get there, and they try and leapfrog themselves out of just starting. So that is a real threat for themselves. I think driver and digitalization from the driver space, it's a topic I'm very passionate about. I think we've come from many years where it's not always been a carrot and a stick, but more of a stick methodology for driving in the cab. Monitoring your driving hours. I've got a camera on you. There's speed. There's alerts. There's, it really does get quite daunting. Nowadays, we are seeing in the role players in the industry that are really doing great work in this topic, where they are giving a voice to the driver, where the driver can start contributing to this data with their own initiative, where they are contributing to their CV effectively by not what the operator is capturing or what the operator is collecting, but what the driver wants to contribute. And that space, I think, we are still in a very infant stage. It's going to boom because the drivers are tech savvy. The drivers know how to, and we are trusting them with our 3 to 4 million rand combination of assets. The first one at the client, last one to leave, and they are digitizing, as you could just see in my example. So yes, I think that landscape is dramatically going to start changing even more. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes.
My name is Tuso, and on risk management and value creation, how can companies balance investing in risk management technologies while still ensuring measurable value creation?
I think you can obviously try a phased approach where you can only do a portion of your fleet and see what the benefits are and see if it aligns to reducing your cost and reducing your operational cost that you have as a business. But I think if you do it in phased approach, try 10 of your units. We have a per unit costing model at C-Track, and then you can try 10, see if it reduces any risk in your area, and then obviously it will pay for itself. As your risk reduce, you can add more of your fleet on top of that.
Harry, we've got some questions. So you can, yes, you can. You can take my mic. If you don't, just please remember to identify yourself and the question for whom you're asking.
Thank you. My name is Sidney Kunene. I'm from SKG Group. My question is about the device. It's more of on what is the range of the device? Is it confined to the borders, or can it go as far as SADC? That's one. Two, can a camera or a dash cam be integrated into that device so as to see what is happening literally, like visually and all that? Thank you.
Good, lovely, nice question. So Norman, which is going to be our last speaker at 2212, actually is the provider of these devices. I'm going to give him some chance, but just briefly, this is SIM card based, so we track the location based on the fact that there's a SIM card that gives out that position pole. So wherever that coverage is when we'll continuously be able to poll the position of the device. So if it's a cross-border SIM, it's going to allow you to do that. That is a case where we are tracking this to see the location. Otherwise, we are tracking the tracking telematics unit, which obviously is bound to go cross-border and made for that. And it's obviously hidden because it's not mobile, it's secretively installed into the vehicle. I hope that answers a bit of your question. Okay. Norman, if you're online, there's a good question for you to pick up on. Camera.
Yeah, we have multiple camera solutions, dash cams, forward-facing and driver-facing. And yeah, they can pick up anything from fatigue to talking on your cell phone, and it's integrated into our platform. Like I mentioned, that's still part of our future journey for the risk management. We do manage it separately, but not as an accident related to accidents. But our future plans are to integrate this, the fatigue and camera data into our risk model for accidents. And then it will be even better to predict who our risky drivers are.
I'm glad. It means that we don't care. We're not here for the coffee. We're here for the content. So here's some more questions coming. I say yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindo Makam and I'm the founder of TransitX, and we connect transport operators and warehouse owners with businesses that are in need of those assets. And my question is to you, Ranko, in regards of the portable device. So what happens in the event that my driver loses the device? Can I still get access to where my truck is, or can I just continue with my phone? Thank you.
Good question. If you use the device for the tracking location, wherever this device is what's going to deem as the location. So most cases, transporters don't use the device to track where the vehicle is. They use the tracking in the device, in the vehicle for us to know. But in cases where that's not accessible and they use subcontractors and they rather want to give the subcontractor a device to use for the day, then that is a way to track it. If that driver loses it, first of all, you will remove the access for the driver on the app from your PC, so the driver will not see anything on the device anymore pertaining orders or any sensitive information. Recovering that device, well, at least we know where the device is. So that's another way to do that, yeah.
Thanks, Harry. Carl from Logistics News. I'm interested in your outlook, especially with the smaller transporters you spoke about. They're, mid to large size. Even they're reluctant to take those steps towards digitization. If you look at and probably in the more challenging environment is the sort of smaller transporters, 20 vehicles down, things like that. If you had to take 100 of those that you've engaged with, and to be fair, the figure might be skewed because the fact that you're engaging with them already means they are somewhat open to digitization. But of the people that you've approached and the responses that you've gotten over the last couple of years, if you had to take 100 random transporters as an example, if you had to say, okay, well, put them into groups of they don't feel the need at all to digitize, they're open to looking at it, or they plan to implement in the next 2 years or so, or they've already implemented. So those sort of 4 stages go from denial to acceptance. How would you group them, percentage-wise?
Great question. I would say 70% of that is for the last 2 quarters, the last 2 options, either considering or started. What's happening, which I experience very frequently, is that the pressure of the transporter's client that they deal with, who's paying their bills, who's keeping them afloat, is digitizing quicker than they are and expecting more of them and sort of almost digitizing sometimes in their behalf. So the client of the transporter is asking for the transporter to accept orders on platforms, use their driver applications, confined to their digital way, not just the operational way. And I think that then that last phase of it's not necessary completely falls out of the way. It has to happen. Am I considering it? Well, I'm currently also being inundated by suppliers calling me and offering me tech, so I know there's options. Have I started thinking, well, my client's forcing me to, either by taking his application, or at least if I can consider getting my own and I can rather integrate to the various clients. Lastly, I'm probably already starting. And in many cases, I'm already jumping to a different application because the first one's not working. So I would say 75% in that I'm already started or definitely considering a immediate implementation.
And that's on the TMS side, not just talking about telemetry and tracking.
For me, that's TMS. I think, Kirsten, you can confirm, but the tracking element is way more mature. I mean, you can't get the truck out of the blocks without that. I mean, it's just regular. It's part of the way. It's you've got insurance and you've got tracking, right, Kirsten? I think the adoption of the technology that the telematics providers are doing additionally now, camera analytics, that is growing rapidly. Yeah,
no, definitely. Yeah, so the SMEs are actually pushing us more to be more proactive, integrating with other systems. They want weight. They want other providers to deal with certain aspects of their business. So they are forcing us on one hand, but sure, we are trying to do cameras as well and trying to get that integrated. And I feel, yeah, they're definitely in the 70% of the clients are on those last 2 steps.
Thanks. There was more questions on that side. Okay. Come, Dion, you're making Harry walk on his birthday.
So you've highlighted the importance of digitization and the use of transport management systems. With there being so many systems coming into the market, can you give us an indication of some of the key factors we should be looking at when considering a transport management system?
Oh, great question. It's something that we talk about often. I think it's a combination of this. You get many amazing technology creators, but don't understand industry, and you get many industry members that want to start building tech, but don't know how to build tech. And I think the midway is if you can partner with people that have got a good grasp of the industry while they are building tech. And that is just, I think, the differentiator between all this noise of so many providers. Get sound industry knowledge based on the ability to really know how to build tech. So it's that combination. Then I would say you're in safe hands. Because currently it's becoming more of a commodity. We all know of the disruption that AI is bringing into even software developer businesses. A non-technical person can start to build their own technology easily at home. Is it sustainable? Is it thought through? How does it get supported? All those questions are going to be answered as we evolve through there. So that the commodity of tech being available couple 10 years back, it was scarce. You know, the local providers, there were not as many. Now there are many entrants in the market making exceptionally beautiful tech. I think then how to differentiate would be, but you know, what are the industry backbone ethos that they have in terms of knowing, understanding, and sort of anticipating where it's going. That's my stab. Yeah.
I also just want to add, I was speaking to Jill just before my presentation, and she also mentioned there's a lot of companies doing their own stuff, building their own tracking management system. And it is important to note that with C-Trax, over 35 years of experience, we gained knowledge, we gained experience. And that type of knowledge and experience you cannot just get from a new startup that just started a business. Sure, AI gives you a big advantage to do maybe newer things, but the old lessons, the really depth that you need to go to run some of these tracking companies or manage the software is not a quick thing that you can do. Same goes with our AI systems. It takes real thought and aptitude to understand how these things link together and to give predictive analytics or predictive solutions to our customers.
You know, we're going to allow for 2 more and then we do the comfort break. Just want to make sure, because the online, I don't have my phone with me. Are there questions there that I should? No, none. Okay, good. Gary, next question.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael. I'm just here for a bit of information. I just wanted to find out from you two gentlemen there, you know, investing in technology is something that companies need to do. Now, you mentioned earlier on that some companies have a bit of a challenge doing this. We refer to that as change management. So implementing a system is great and it does take some legwork to do, be it with the service provider or the internal employees. And that change management of working with Excel and being used to certain things, they're accustomed to that. So what are the typical challenges that you would say you face with regards to downtime, you know, taking operators away from the actual job to implement a system like this? And in your experience, what's the outcome of it? You know, you say, we're gonna implement you in 6 months. Does the timeline actually stick to that 6 months, or is it dependent more on the company doing the implementation?
Good, I'll take a stab. So I think what jumps to mind immediately is empathy and context. If you have empathy for the user and the role and what they're going through now, exactly like you started with, I still have to keep my wheels turning. I still need to do whatever I'm doing currently for how many long I've been doing while I am implementing. So I think that's where the context of your provider that's coming to implement has to have. I have to have understanding that this is something that I have to take time and be patient, and empathy for the user and the change that's running, the change that they don't even speak of, but you can sense as they're going through this. And then I think you get realistic, where you have a boardroom discussion of a very nice project plan, and you get reality when you get into the operations room and you need to get users using a different screen. And as soon as that starts happening, if you are in touch and you have got a fluent line of communication from implementation on the floor and decision makers, I think assessing that our expectations of a timeline is realistic or not. And you gauge that. You can gauge that very quickly, and I think the client, the decision makers themselves can start to see that, okay, this is going to plan. No, we might take a bit longer, we understand, and hence, let's take the time and rather do it once than implementing twice or even worse. So I think that's sort of the contextual side of what they're going through as an operator, and then obviously the empathy. All right. Harry is giving me a coffee is getting cold sign. Thank you very much. So we are going to take that break now, and then we'll come back at 11:30. We've got 2 presentations for the day. Both of them is going to give us a lot of continuous insight about digitization. We're going to talk about the impact on digitization of African airports, and then we've got Norman that's going to talk about those devices that many of you had questions on. All right, thank you very much. All right, everybody, if you don't mind getting back to your seats. Gauging by the energy in the room, there's definitely a lot of the topics have been discussed. We've hit some positive nerves. All right, so just give a last moment, if they don't mind closing that door at the back. We're definitely ending off on a high note. We've got two very relevant and exciting topics ahead of us. Okay. So our next speaker, Ms. Charlene Permumal, is going to be unpacking for us. Oh, she's the managing partner for Shaper Innovation Dynamics, and she's going to be unpacking a very relevant topic, tricky topic, impact of digitalization on African airports. Very excited to have you here. Thank you very much. If I could just ask the rest of you to settle down, please. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, there we go. All right. They say a picture tells 1,000 words. I have a few pictures, but don't worry. I'm not going to talk 1,000 over words to you. The reason I use my pictures is to provide more context to the words that I'm going to, that each slide talks to. So my name is Charlene Permumal. I worked for the Airports Company for 25 years and branched out because I have a passion in terms of improving our airports in Africa. And I believe that we can do that. So, the impact of innovation on African airport relatively talks to three key components. One, we know that change is inevitable. Okay? Two, we know how important digitalization has become to airports. For those of you who travel frequently, Mr. Berg, you know, biometrics, all of those things has become critically important, especially in terms of the global airports, like Atlanta, the biggest airport. There's very, very minimal human interaction. And then, as you know, airports previously was part of the government department. Okay? Over time, we have evolved. Airports have evolved. They've become commercial entities, with commercial activities, whether it was aeronautical, whether it was retail, food and beverage, etc. And this is what the presentation talks to. Currently, if we look at the aviation industry, it contributes about 3.5% towards the global GDP. Okay, within Africa, it contributes 2.1%. Bearing in mind that Africa holds 18% of the global population, only 2.1% of us travel by air. And that is why there is a dire need for us to improve our airports, for us to intercontinentally improve our routes and improve the air travel as a mode of transport. That doesn't take away my colleagues' other modes in terms of road, rail, and so forth. So in terms of the evolution, as airports have become more and more successful, moving passengers and cargo, the position has also encouraged and enhanced the creation of jobs, the improvement of tourism, and also bringing the world closer together for people. So reaching destinations, going from OR Tambo to Atlanta, to Singapore, and to Australia, to Sydney, Brisbane, etc. Okay. So innovation, therefore, impacts all of these components. Right. And what the key principles of innovation focus on are route expansion, air travel success through liberalization. How do we liberalize our destinations from where we are to where we want to go to? Okay. How do we transform that? And how do we diversify in terms of connecting people from one destination to another? Airports also focus on key aspects of safety, security, and passenger service excellence. We have to know how safe our airlines are. We have to know, as airports, how safe our airspace is. So that collaboration is critically important. For airlines within the aviation industry to be sustainable, bearing in mind that airlines make a marginal profit. They only make a profit if they are in the air. Okay, so the number of frequencies are critically important. So therefore, airlines have to ensure that their passengers feel safe, they feel secure, and they also receive good treatment. In terms of sustainability, we look at how airports can improve as successful businesses. And now, I mean, you've seen for a while now, airports coming out of government entities, becoming successful businesses. They've developed commercial activities, and now you have something like duty-free concessions. You know, that has given a boost to airports' profitability. Another thing that's also very, very important is the harmonization of policies and standards. So airports have to have a similar language that they talk to each other. So if you look at, let's look at OR Tambo. It's the largest airport in Africa as we speak. But we also have Ethiopia building an airport, a new domestic terminal, which is going to become probably the second largest airport. Ethiopia already has the largest airline, okay? And that's going to be supplemented by the airport that they're building. So the competition is really gearing up for aviation as we speak. Then we look at bilateralism, multilateralism to improve the choice of travel options. If our airports cannot talk to each other in terms of its bilaterals, in terms of its multilateral agreements that they have, and collaborate, we will continuously and consistently still have international airlines coming into South Africa, coming into Ethiopia, coming into the DRC. Okay, we need to strengthen our position as African airports, African airlines, and the African airspace. One of the critical things, and I think one of the colleagues spoke about it, is carbon emission, right? That is so critical for air travel. Because what we are, or what airlines, airports, and the airspace are looking at this point in time is how do we reduce our carbon emission? How do we use something called SAF, Safe Aviation Fuel? Because climate change is so important. It's our world, it's our earth, it's our, it's our livelihood, it's the future for our kids and generations to come. So we have to, through the different types of modes of transport, we have to be responsible to protect our environments. Right. This slide I call the art of the deal. Okay. And the reason I do that is that I have on the left-hand side the content that will give you some contextualization of the different types of innovation, right? And on the right-hand side, I have a circle of innovation. So how the left integrates with the circle of innovation is critically important. So there are different types of innovation. I've listed the four most important types. You have incremental innovation, where you look at your processes, your procedures, your standards, how you can be proactive in improving them. And then on the right, you look at who are your stakeholders that you collaborate with. For airports, the most important are airlines and the ATCs, with your airspace. Then you have something called breakthrough innovation. And breakthrough innovation, whilst it looks at operational and technological advancements, it can produce services within an existing category. So you take your incremental innovation, where you are continuously improving, but you can also excel in a way that you become part of a competitive level that exceeds in your innovation requirements. We then look at revolutionary innovation, and this can be disruptive. As we've seen, it's something that we can't hide away from today. The war that is going on. Drones are a critical component of that. Okay, drones are, they are destroying infrastructure. They are killing people, and it is so inexpensive to build a drone. So this is something called disruptive innovation. Within the aviation space, airports, for example, use drones in collaboration with their stakeholders, such as airlines and the Civil Aviation Authority. They use drones to look at how we can maintain our runways more effectively. Rather than using a person to drive on the runway and look for cracks in the runway, a drone can pick up much more intensive issues that prohibits the runway efficiency. A recent example was an accident that occurred on the runway and in the DRC. It was unnecessary because of this fact that, if we could have used a drone, that flight could have, just not have happened, the accident of the flight. So using drones and using technology can be as important as the human beings that work in the aviation industry. Then we have something called breakthrough innovation, where you have some people who are so proactive in their thinking that they are forever coming up with potential solutions, with hypothetical solutions, and these people come up with breakthrough innovation. So in as much as they have an idea, in as much as they can try and explain, they don't yet have a solution. So they have to partner with a community or a committee, and together and through collaboration, they then discover solutions that can benefit the airports and its stakeholders. Okay, so when we talk to the transformation of airports coming out of the government's offices, being part of the government offices and becoming successful entities, we look at what has happened so far. If you look at the first one on airport security, previously we had people who, and at some airports we still have people, who walk up and down the airport, through the airports to look at security breaches, to look at. Now we have a little robot that goes through the airport and can find all the problems, can find all the inconsistencies, can find all the issues that are currently existing within airports. We then look at, if you look at, this is a slide from Singapore, cleaning services. Before, we had our people, sweeping the floors, mopping the floors, cleaning the airport infrastructure. Now we have machines that can do that. And that gives the capability for our people to move to a different level, to become more analytical. And as airport leaders, to encourage our people that it shouldn't, using technology like this should not scare them, but rather enhance their positions within the airport industry. We look at robots, excuse me, that can provide facilitation through the airports. This is actually for me a very proud moment, because this robot is taken from an airport in Rwanda. And you know what? People didn't believe that we can have robots. But during COVID, the airport management and staff was so innovative that they developed these robots, that can guide passengers who were scared, and they could facilitate passengers and show them, the signage, the wayfinding, so they would easily made their way to the respective gate to basically get onto their aircraft. Then we look at self-service check-in, and if you travel frequently, you have, when you get to the airport, you can actually book your flight online and stuff like that. But some airports still require that you have your boarding pass physically. They don't actually accept your boarding pass on a phone. So you can go to the self check-in and you can just scan your boarding your phone, and it will produce a boarding pass for you. We then look at the drones. Drones, this is a drone within an airport, at one of the EXA airports, and you can see it's looking at where maintenance is required, where severe maintenance is required, where maintenance, if not done, can be critical. I recently went through, I work on a project in the DRC, and they built a very beautiful airport. And but what happened was there was a space between the escalator and a pole. And we know children. We were all there once upon a time. Okay, for me it's a bit of a longer time, but anyway. The space was this small. And I was walking with the airport manager, very kind man. And I was walking and with my high heels, because I wanted to feel quite tall. So I was walking with them, and I looked at this man's face, and he was becoming very, very scared, because I was just walking. And I walked right to the tip of that space. And I said to him, Amiri, this is not right. Because if I can fit in that space, right? Okay, I'm old. But imagine a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old between that escalator and between that pole. And this was on the upper level of the airport. If they fell down, hey, what happens to that child? And children are inquisitive. So as airports, they need to think of everything, because of children, because of inquisitive people like me, right, we need to have our airports being the safest environment when we travel. Airports are the facilitators of air travel. Okay. Okay, I'm not probably as techno-savvy, but anyway, let's go to the next one. There we go. Okay. Now, in terms of innovative influence at African airports, we've got to, again, somebody spoke about systems thinking. You have to have that at, in an airport environment or in an aviation environment, because of the influence that airports as facilitators can have on organizations, whether it is an individual stakeholder or whether it's a society of stakeholders that operate at the airports, whether it's aeronautical or whether it's commercial. So we have to have that overall influence as the airports. Systems thinking then comes into practice, where we conform to best practice. And within the aviation industry, we have 3 fundamental organizations. We have the Airports Council International, they represent airports. We have the International Aviation Transport Association, and they represent airlines. And then we have the overarching organization called ICAO. And they were formed at the Chicago Convention of 1944. And they represent all the stakeholders, whether it's airlines, whether it's airports, whether it's the airspace. So they provide the policy and standard guidelines of how a best practice airport should operate and should be responsible and should take cognizance of the evolution of airports or the aviation industry as we progress in time. We then look at building on collaboration and loyalty, and I spoke to you about this. Loyalty from an internal perspective is very, very important. Because if there's no collaboration between the airport and the airspace, that provides such a risk for the airlines to fly, especially with the drones flying, at the same time. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but you find kids, they can actually just fly their drones, which they buy from Pick and Pay, in the airspace. And if that little drone, just interacts with the wing of an aircraft, that aircraft can crash. There can be fatalities, and that is the riskiest thing for us to have. So the way in which we build collaboration is so important. And that, in essence, also builds loyalty amongst the stakeholders and with its customers. So that's how important collaboration and loyalty is. From a research and development perspective, we need to apply the smart airport concept, which I'll speak to you now. And this concept talks to how the airport operates, how it manages its airports, how it manages and builds loyalty with its airlines, with its other stakeholders, and ultimately with the end user, our passenger. This is called a strategic approach, and it talks to the agility and the resilience which is required by every stakeholder in the aviation industry. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Harry. Oh. There we go. All right. Now, in terms of optimization, we know that airports are now, our governments are very happy because airports are making an abundance of money, right? Airports are really growing. They're expanding. I'm not sure how many of you have seen over recent times. I'm sure the gentleman from Cape Town has observed that Cape Town International Airport is already reaching capacity. And that is why the Cape Winelands Airport is now coming into fruition. The Waylands area, helps out OR Tambo, because business travelers prefer to travel from a smaller airport lands area than OR Tambo, which caters for a bigger population. Cape Winelands is going to have a similar approach. We'll have more of the business passengers flying from Cape Winelands rather than Cape Town. The airports company in South Africa is very responsible in terms of the fact of handling its capacity of its passengers. So once they reach a certain level of capacity, they then start looking at, how do we then become a bit more strict in terms of structuring our routes and so forth. I know that, Harry, I talk a lot. My apologies. So, key factors that airports have to take into consideration are cost optimization for itself, for its stakeholders, and also for building loyalty with its passengers. How do we generate revenue generation? And I spoke to you about, having more commercial entities or more commercial retailers, food and beverage, etc. New technology, biometrics, I spoke to you about that. That is also a key element for airports to survive. And then our business optimization processes. Okay, here we go. Almost done, Harry. The advantages of innovation at our African airports. The trade resources to and from Africa, using air travel is fundamental because it caters for longer destinations. It's quicker to reach longer, to fly from a country within our continent to other continents using air travel, as we all know. Okay. Innovative thinking accelerates that capability and that advantage. And we are looking, aviation is now looking at something called 5IR in terms of cobots. So that is the integration between human beings and technology. It is so critically important. Why? Because it reduces the fear factor of our people to say, I'm going to be replaced by a robot. Not necessarily. I don't believe that. Because AI, technology, has all been created by the human mind. So that is the fundamental. Our people should be safe, should be given the assurance by their leaders that their jobs will rather be enhanced or in a different position than being reduced. I seriously, Harry, I have a problem with this thing. Maybe it's my height. That's it. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks for that, Harry. Okay. One of the things, quickly, whilst I'm already out of time, is something called the Aerotropolis concept. This is a concept that was invented by Professor Quesada. He's called the father of the Aerotropolis. Very dynamic man, very out-of-the-box thinker, innovative. And this slide actually tells you that businesses would be wise and strategically positioned if they start building closer to the airports. Right? I know for some modes of travel, it's a disadvantage, but it actually reduces the loads on our roads. You know, it actually reduces the risk of more accidents. So from an aviator's perspective, building your businesses around the airports, I believe, is something that businesses who, for long-distance cargo, for freight and mail, should consider doing in the future. And already Johannesburg, OR Tambo, is working on that. Got it, Harry? And now, in 2010, a small woman, probably as small as I am, called Shakira, sang the song, It's Time for Africa. We had one of the most interesting, dynamic World Cups that FIFA said was ever, successful. And it stimulated traffic for people from Africa, for airports from Africa, to diversify, to move into other continents, to have that confidence to be able to say, yes, you know what, I want to meet an American. Yes, I want to go to Singapore. Okay? And this is our time still. From 2010, it's 16 years later, it is still our time as Africans to prosper, to grow, and to increase air travel as one of the modes of transport. Thank you. Oh, yes. Any questions?
But later,
Later. Okay, we're going to have our questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I thoroughly enjoyed that. You've got an immense passion, obviously an expert on the topic, and I love that revolutionary innovation, because it feels like for some entities it is going from Excel, and in your space it's obviously way more advanced. So the big question is, when will we see some of those bots, do you think, in our local airports? Okay, we'll keep that for later. Just a different note, you've got illegal parking outside, and unfortunately, if you don't act fast, your car is in jeopardy. It's a registration MV45MPGP, Ford Fiesta. If you are the owner, please go move your car, because otherwise it sounds like they will move it for you. All right. Now we're progressing to the last speaker. Norman, unfortunately, can't be here in person. He's going to join us online. And Norman is the creator and the owner of those devices, the one that you saw me demo a bit earlier. And I probably just touched the iceberg. There's much more that can do. So normally if Norman was here in person, what I love about his presentations is very interactive. He's got these charging magnets, and he's showing how it links onto different mechanisms. So I hope you can still do that at home there, Norman. If you can hear us, we can see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay? Harry?
Norman, yes, talk to us and we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
Norman, you're going to share your screen?
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to just start off, just by thanking Harry and Renko, the Transport Forum, and the main sponsors of the Transport Forum. Just to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to present what have to present today. What I would like to maybe just do first is just to quickly show you some of the technology before I'm going to start the presentation, and talk a little bit about the ecosystems that we built, because I think that's one of the things that Renko touched on. Sorry, I can't be there. I'm a little bit under the weather, so if my voice breaks up a bit, excuse me for that. But this is one of the solutions that Renko showed a bit earlier. It's this particular solution is called the Maggie solution, and let me just change my background to not blur. And then, so can everybody see the solution that I have in my hand? And essentially what we've developed, and this is an ecosystem that we've developed for the fleet and fleet management environment, that essentially has a unit that installs into the vehicle. Renko did a little demo. When this unit installs and attaches in the vehicle, it's a very stable attachment, and we do a lot of things on this unit itself, from an audio stack for communication to monitoring the device itself, monitoring the movement of the device, the G-forces that the device experiences, the device charges while it's on this particular tray, and it also, we monitor the location of the device, charge levels, and so forth, all remotely. We have the ability to load any software that customers want, and that's how we work with Renko's team, is they load the TMS platform software on the devices, and it gives the driver and the ability to have a proper view of the environment that was created. As part of this solution, we developed some sensors that goes into vehicles, and that's part of the ecosystem, temperature sensors. We have little tracking units. We have units that monitors pallets, that goes into pallets or roller cages to monitor presence of the roller cages and pallets. So these are some of the ecosystems that we've developed for the fleet environment. Now, today I'm here to talk about the container side, and we use very similar technologies or the same core boards, and I will just quickly show you some of these little boards that we develop. And everything that you see is developed locally in South Africa, manufactured in South Africa, and we just keep on going smaller and smaller with our little boards. And each little board has a specific function. So we work on different stacks, from Bluetooth technology, Sigfox technology, GSM, GPS technology, and LoRaWAN technology. So we use the different technologies to provide the best possible way for customers to deliver solutions for their specific environment. Now, if I go to my screen, and I'll quickly share my screen. We can go to the presentation. Can everybody see the presentation fine?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I don't know if the presentation is open completely at the moment, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk about smart containers, cold chain logistics, and using the Easy Tech Bluetooth technology that we've developed in this particular ecosystem. I mean, at the moment, there's been a lot of solutions that's been rolled out into the market based on the various technologies. But the logistics companies still have limited real-time visibility of cargo and the condition of the cargo. There's high losses due to temperature fluctuations, container theft and tampering risks in containers. Currently, when a container ends up in the port, containers and contents of containers still disappear inside the port itself. And then there's a lot of pressure to improve the sustainability of this environment. Now, containers is becoming a digital asset, and we've created a whole environment, and I'll talk you through this environment now, but allowing yet again another ecosystem that allows communications not just from the container to a backend platform, but between containers and its assets, continuing monitoring the container during transportation, providing automated reporting and alerts, tampering alerts, movement alerts, when that container is starting to move and starting to get lifted, or when somebody touches the potential lock, and provide end-to-end traceability for the contents inside the containers, as well as the container itself. We use ultra-low wireless Bluetooth technology. We use the reason for this is quite there's a few reasons, but one of the main reasons is low infrastructure cost, very long battery life. It's scalable across large fleets, and it works indoors, on roads, rails, and in ports by combining the different technologies that we develop. The GSM side, the Bluetooth side, the Sigfox side, and the LoRaWAN side, depending on the customer's specific needs and requirements within that environment. So inside this environment, we provide, and I don't know if you can still see my video of myself, but we provide, as I mentioned, temperature sensors earlier. We provide a unit like this that is called an Easy Seal that seals the container from the inside, but it also measures and monitors everything inside the container. This particular unit has a GSM, GPS, Bluetooth technology stack, and this technology stack scans continuously for containers around it, as well as the technology that sits inside the container. So if you have high-value goods and you have these little units inside the high-value goods, these little black units that I've got in my hand, this lock that sits in front of the Easy Seal continuously scans and monitors what's inside the container. The Easy Seal obviously monitors if the door is opened. And then we have these units that has a transparent back for monitoring of light and sensing of light if there's any opening of the container or moving of the container. Each of the units also have a G sensor built in, so we can monitor shock, vibration, tilt of the container. We can detect vibrations. We can monitor and lock any information if there's any data outages. Unfortunately, we still have cell phone networks and back-end systems going down, but you can still log that information and present it to a local representative without having to go through the network itself. So these little units usually goes with a gateway, which can be any of these forms, that is installed in close, not in close proximity, but up to a few kilometers from the particular containers. And these little gateway scans continuously, and I'm talking about up to second scanning capabilities to understand what's happening with in their containers. The data is then forwarded via cellular, satellite, or whatever means of communications we have. And even phones, any phone becomes a gateway, because we have gateways that becomes a soft gateway. So it's the same technology stack that we run as on our gateways, we run on phones that supports Bluetooth-based technologies. The cold chain logistics benefit obviously is prevent product spoilage, ensure pharma and food compliance, real-time temperature alerts, so you can set alerts for high, low, and if anything goes off or changes, you can get an immediate alert, and have a full audit trail of what's happened when that item was loaded and eventually downloaded at the final point of delivery. When items moves overseas, you would provide your receiver with a soft gateway, and all the tracked and logged information will be then synced automatically to the back end via that soft gateway that sits on the other side. So the sustainability impact of this is to reduce cargo waste, even reduce fuel consumption through visibility, ensuring that you know where your assets are, not have to do additional trips, additional movement of assets. We also focus on long battery life, and I'm talking about battery lives of 5 years plus. One of our technology stacks has calculated battery life up to 32 years, but your battery usually disintegrates before it would have used the battery itself. And we also have solar gateways where you need higher power options. For example, the gateways that needs to charge and read and scan the other assets around it. So from an operational and commercial perspective, we reduce insurance claims. We can increase container turnaround, finding your container more easily, knowing where your container is, and knowing what's happening with your container, and have full visibility, when that container moves, of what's happening with the container and your service providers. Are they mistreating your container or the goods inside the container? Is it being bumped too many times? And, if you receive your goods, why has it potentially been broken? And, what can you do to, fix the problem that's occurred? So this is a full end-to-end ecosystem that provides premium logistics service offerings. The future of smart transport is predictive logistics analytics, focusing on AI and starting to understand, using this data that you've built over many years, and understanding what this does and means for your environment, and where to optimize. In the yards, potentially looking at where to place containers more efficiently for specific customers. This technology can integrate into smart ports and smart cities through the backend platforms that we provide, and provide full traceable global cargo ecosystems. And that is my story as far as the containers are concerned. And you are welcome to ask some questions if there's any questions or comments that anybody wants to make.
Thank you, Norman. You can stop share. That's it. Now we can see you properly, and you can then participate in the questions and answers. Thank you.
Norman, thank you. I hope you get well. Guys building tech like us, we always get excited when we see the hardware, the gadgets that come out, and that container tracking is super exciting, because a lot of effort's being done to track the vehicle, obviously in the cab and the driver, but now to track the cargo is just as important. So completely locally manufactured and distributed, that's just also congratulations on that. Proudly South African, so that's really exciting. All right, so that concludes our formal presentations, and I think we have a moment now to do a roundup of questions for the last two speakers. Maybe there's some general questions that have, for any of the previous speakers also. Let's do that. I've got online questions here also. And if you don't mind, because Norman, if it is for Norman online, then yeah, Norman, if you can just stay online, please. All right. Just remember just to identify yourself again and then to whom you the question.
Afternoon again. It's Sydney Kunene from SKT Group again, not related to Kenny Kunene. My question is, Norman, you spoke of this gadget. It's so exciting and interesting, but you spoke about containers. Now I want to know if it can be used on tankers, because if you're transporting liquids like your petroleum products and gas, can it work on tankers? That's one. Two, in some areas, in certain situations, even mobile phones are not allowed because they tell you that it's an explosive area and all that. So I want to know the safety of the thing when it comes to such situations, because, yeah, that's the question.
Thank you for your questions. Yes, I mean, we've had some queries around tankers, and the same kind of technology can be used around the tanker environment. What we found, with the customers that we've been engaging with, is that there's a lot of fuel theft, especially on the tankers that moves fuel, across the country to different depots, and it's done very, very cunningly. So guys would even use the loading side, open that up and tap fuel from the loading side and not the unloading side. So the particular customer has asked to use one of these seals to place at the loading site and unloading site through a little mechanism that allows the monitoring of the movement of the levers that opens up the fuel lines. So that firstly, it's difficult to open up because of the cable that's attached through it. And secondly, when it's cut, that there's an emergency alert sent. Now, when it comes to the intrinsic safety of fuel and tankers, it's a very difficult thing to analyze, because I think the biggest sparks that comes relating to the tanker is the vehicle itself. It's running fuel, it's burning, it's there's a lot of wiring inside, and yes, you can buy intrinsic safe equipment at a very expensive cost, but it depends on at the end what the customer's outcome, what the outcome is that they want. So spending that money, 50,000 Rand for a phone that is intrinsically safe, but having other equipment like tracking systems and so forth in the vehicles, other electronics, ignitions, starting motors that's not being qualified intrinsically safe, you've got to make a call and say, certain things we'll allow as long as, it's not going to affect, or create a risk in that environment. I mean, there's so many signals being transmitted around a vehicle. I think the probability that a small electronic device or a tracker from C-Track or any equipment like that will cause a problem is very, very unlikely. Yes, you can go through the trouble to get the products intrinsically safe, but obviously that comes at a cost. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Norman. Another question, Cole?
I've got two questions. First one for Norman. Norman, does your system integrate with typical TMSs so that transporters can see everything on a single dashboard?
Absolutely. We've already integrated with Control Fleet's TMS, and all the information is synced from our systems directly into Control Fleet's system, and we've got other TMS platforms that we've integrated with already as well.
Okay, great, thanks. And Charlene, two things. One, first of all, you can mention Shakira, but don't forget freshly ground. Definitely added a real African flavor. For most of the both logistics and passenger travel in South Africa. It's great to hear that African airports are embracing innovation and digitalization. You know, the main concern, and there was one point on there with regards to cost reduction. With AXA having some of the highest landing costs in Africa, do you think that with I realize you're not AXA, but with your engagement with AXA, do you see a large concern with regards to reducing costs or some sort of push using digitization to try and reduce those landing costs?
Okay, so your landing costs are essentially based on the type of aircraft that is flown and the amount of fuel. Okay, then there's a government levy added to that as well. Okay, so yes. I know, but the main landing cost is to the airline. Okay, and then they pay a landing fee to AXA. Okay, so yeah, but with enhanced technology and using safer fuel, I do believe that that landing cost will ultimately be reduced in time. Yes, they have. Remember, passenger fees, landing costs, aircraft fees, they're all regulated by a regulating committee that sits within the Ministry of Transport. So AXA or the airlines, they have to conform to those regulatory fees. Again, it's regulated by the Department of Transport. So they don't, charge willy-nilly. I'm not a politician.
All right, sounds like you have a partner for lunch there, Carl. All right, let's move on. Some more questions?
Hi, Mark Nicol, Risk Manager, Independent. Question for Charlene. With the digitization, and I'm looking at it from a risk point of view, what was maybe one of your significant risks, maybe something that bumps up on your risk register that you've encountered, and what methods or how did you manage it or mitigate that risk?
Okay, so Mark, there are two things. One, which is primarily a concern for all of us in this room, is our climate change. Okay, how do we make the climate safer and more conducive to the future of the world? So that's one of the risks that all airports, airlines, the Civil Aviation Authority, they're working towards using safer fuel mechanisms, using more technology to enhance climate change in a positive manner. The second thing is there's something called the dance of minds. And this is the balance between your IQ and your EQ. Okay? And the critical risk in the aviation industry are our people. Our people feel unsafe. Our people are scared that they're going to lose their jobs because of AI, because of digitalization, like biometrics and so forth. That will not happen. Inevitably, people can be enabled, and this is dependent on aviation leaders, to enable people to move into more analytical jobs, into less intensive physical jobs, and use AI or use technology for those components, but use our people for jobs that they can do better to improve industry.
Oh, well said. Yeah. More questions on site? Got one question I received online. Don't know if you are still with us. Zingli Masuku asked, what role would integration of systems like electronic data interchange, EDI, play in enhancing better coordination between ports, railways and border agencies in the SADC region? Maybe somebody in the audience that feels this is relevant for answer. Sounds like you've stumped the crowd. We'll get an email correspondence back to you on that one. No, it's a good question. I think it's a loaded one. And it entails a lot because that my gathering from that in terms of method of integration, is EDI still relevant or not necessarily? Is that still relevant? How in active use is it? And I think it's quite a loaded topic. Yeah. Anybody else? No last questions. So now we get to that another fun part, Harry. It's the prize giving and raffles.
Ladies and gents, I think let's give our MC a big hand. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, man. He's done a great job all the way from Cape Town. Thank you very much, Renke. We always appreciate your support. And please have a safe journey back. And we look forward to being MC'd by you again. Thank you very much. Right, on this stage, we're saying goodbye to our online audience. Jan, you can end the session there. Thank you, online guys, for being with us. We really appreciate that. To this audience in front of me, yeah, we're going to do a lucky draw. We've got two very nice 1,000-pieces family puzzles. They're each 500 rands. And we're going to send around the box that you put in your business card or this tag of yours. Just take out the paper from the